Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Moodivators. This week I decided to choose 3 words that came to me after watching the news and seeing what's going on in this country. It really saddens me, and I'm sure that it saddens you too. I really believe that people are fundamentally good and that people are always trying to do the right thing and always trying to be their best. And after working with hundreds of people throughout the years, I also know that not only for them, but for myself too, that when our needs aren't met, when we don't feel understood, when we are afraid, when we feel like our choices are really limited, when we are feeling tied down and like life is out of our control, we don't put our best foot forward a lot of times, especially if we're not living in a world that we can trust. And so that's one of my first words is trust. So, trust is about believing in something or in someone, and believing that when somebody says they're going to do something, that you can trust that they will do it. And when we have trust in others and in ourselves, we have confidence that the right thing will come about, and that we don't have to control it or make it happen. It's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to others, and honestly, it's one of the most important things that we must feel for ourselves. And a lot of people think that trust is one of those things that has to be earned. But I don't think that that's what we do deep down inside. I think that most of us trust automatically. I mean, I know I trusted the teachers when I gave them my children in kindergarten, left these kids with them. I wouldn't have done that with any other stranger. I trust doctors when I go to them and they're checking out my body and they're telling me what's going on. I mostly trust them. I trust the police officers. We trust our leaders. We trust our friends, our family. I mean, I really think we trust more easily than we distrust. It's in our nature because fundamentally we do believe that everybody's doing the best they can. And so when that trust is broken, when agreements that are some spoken, some unspoken, are broken, or expectations are not met, we feel very betrayed. Betrayal is one of those things that runs really deep inside of us because we don't have a viable way to understand it and to make something right that's been done wrong. And it's a really difficult thing. So right now I think trust in our government, in our leaders, in our police department, in each other has been broken. And I hope that we can start to build it again, and I believe that can happen when we first feel like we can trust ourselves, that no matter what happens around us, no matter what others do, no matter what we may feel we lose, that somehow we will find our way because we are so much stronger and so much more resilient. And for those who are not, then the next word that I chose comes into play. And that word is empathy. And so empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes, right? Another person's place, and to understand their experience. We are deeply present to their thoughts and feelings, and we have a compassion that we can hear their own thoughts clearly. Empathy connects us with our common humanity. It protects us from prejudice and judgment. and those things that divide us. And so there are some in our world that do not have the capacity for empathy, namely narcissists and sociopaths, psychopaths, but they're a smaller percentage, although they can be quite loud. But most people do have the capacity for empathy, which is to get out of your own way, your own thoughts and your own needs for just enough time to be able to imagine what somebody else must feel in order to do the things they do, or say the things they say, or feel the way they are demonstrating they feel. And it is from that place of empathy that we can let go of those judgments that we have and simply be present to the needs of another, to validate in some ways their fears and their feelings, enough to help them find their strength again. In coaching and counseling, that's what I do. I empathize to a degree that I can understand what my clients are saying and feeling, so that I can make space for them to tap into the greater part of themselves by validating and by acknowledging that they have a right to the feelings they have. And those feelings aren't going to be the same as mine, and their actions are not going to be the same as mine, because, again, we all have our own wounds and our own stories and our own needs. And yes, we are different. We have different backgrounds. We have different experiences. And those do define us. And yet, which leads me to the next word, there's something even more powerful, and that is unity. It's a powerful virtue because it brings great strength and inclusiveness. It brings people together, appreciating what's common between them without devaluing what's different. Unity just refuses to engage in words driven by beliefs, opinions, and politics that divide. Unity comes when we value every person, and the hurt of one is the hurt of all. And so, think about that. What did you feel when you saw what happened to George Floyd? We can make a judgment about it, but how does that stop what's happening? If we think about what makes us human and what's common between us, it's things like we all need to breathe the same air, we all need to drink the same water, we all need food, we all need shelter, we all need love and connection. We need an opportunity to contribute, to expand, to feel safe. We have the right to feel safe, everybody. And so when we think in terms of what unites us rather than what makes us different, we can change the world, people. We can stop this stuff that's happening. Fear is what divides us. Love is what unites us. So I know that's pretty serious, and we live in serious times right now. And if I want to have the impact that I believe I'm being asked and called to do, then I have to question or bring forth things that some people may not want to hear. And right now, we're living in probably one of the hardest times since World War II. And the hardest part is that we don't really have a tangible common enemy. And so we have taken what we hear on TV, whether it's this station or that station, this news or that news, this politics, this religion, and we have made those our enemies. And We have forgotten our humanness. So I invite you to really look at these words, like who do you trust and why do you trust them, and what are your expectations and what are your unspoken agreements, because the more we can tap into and understand and express what it is we need and we can listen to each other, the more likely we will be able to affect change. The more empathy that we can experience in ourselves so that we can not make a judgment and devalue somebody else's experience, but accept and understand to the degree that we are willing to stand up and say, this is not okay. Political correctness be damned. I think that's been the destruction of our society for the last 20 years. And then to really look, it's natural for us to experience the differences first, because our reptilian brain is always on alert to look at what's dangerous out there in the world. It's what we do naturally. So understanding that, yeah, as you go out into the world, you are unconsciously finding the differences between you and everybody else. But it is incumbent on you to find the unity, to find the commonality. We're all wearing masks. The only thing left to see is each other's eyes. Look into the stranger's eyes and you will find that that person is just as frustrated, just as scared, just as paralyzed, needs just as much connection, just as much love, just as much understanding. We can do this. We can do this. That's it. Till next week, be kind to yourself.